Hello. In this video, I will be reviewing the 1995 movie Se7en, directed by David Fincher. Se7en is about two detectives, David Mills and William Somerset, played by Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, who are trying to catch a sadistic serial killer who is killing people based on the 7 deadly sins. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen Se7en, I highly recommend that you watch it before you watch this video. Just like my last video on Fight Club, this video is sort of a remake of an older video of mine. I've reviewed Se7en before, but it's one of my older videos that I've made private, and Se7en is one of my favorite movies, so I needed to do it justice. One great thing about Se7en is how it creates really great atmosphere. It takes place in a horrible, grimy city. In almost every scene it's raining heavily, and the scenes mostly take place in dodgy areas such as a grimy alleyway or a sleazy brothel. The dark and gritty world of Se7en fits the sinister subject matter perfectly. Its atmosphere is captured very well in the opening title sequence. It is made up of a bunch of quick shots of a serial killer making scrapbooks. The title card and credits are shown in a very gritty, creepy font, and there are constant scratches that appear on the screen. There is very unsettling music in the background that adds to the lurid vibe of the scene. Thinking about it, it is more strange scratching noises than actual music. This intro perfectly sets the tone for the rest of the movie. They could have just had a title card come up on a black screen and start the movie, and that would have been fine. But in Se7en, just fine isn't good enough. Everything is designed to be perfect, which is partly what elevates it from many similar movies. Later on in the movie, they look at one of the scrapbooks, and it's only in the shot for a few seconds. If you pause, you will see that the pages are covered in writing. This means that for this quick shot, they actually got someone to take the time to write all of that down. This may seem unnecessary, but I think that details like that really make the movie better. I mentioned this in my Fight Club video, but even though Se7en was released in the 90s, it doesn't feel dated because of how it's shot. If you watch Fight Club or Se7en nowadays, and you didn't know any better, you could mistake them for being modern movies because of how David Fincher uses the camera. If you'd like to hear more about some techniques he uses, you can watch my Fight Club video, but here I will just be talking about some shots I really like. I think the best shot in the movie is near the end when they're driving through the dirt road in the desert, and the car looks really small compared to the imposing pylons. The pylons sort of blend together, and it creates a very industrial and ominous image. When combined with the music, it almost looks as if it could be from the movie Sicario. Another cool shot is when Somerset is reading, and it's a close-up of his eyes, and you can see the reflection of what he's reading in his glasses. I really like the shot in the lust victim scene, where it shows Mills and Somerset walking through grungy hallways of the brothel. This shot combined with the music creates a very sleazy vibe. This isn't one specific shot, but I wanted to talk about how well made the chase scene is. It has a bunch of shots from different interesting angles that help add to the action. The scene also doesn't really feel like an action scene. It isn't overly choreographed, which adds to the tension. When Mills is chasing the killer, he falls. He struggles to keep up, and he comes pretty close to being killed. It doesn't really seem like he has control over the situation at all. It feels very real. Se7en is known for being very disturbing, but what sets it apart from a movie like Saw, which is actually pretty good, is it balances out the disturbing scenes with more quiet, calm scenes. The lust scene is very shocking, but right afterwards, there's a scene where Mills and Somerset are just talking in a bar.
You know, this isn't gonna have a happy ending. It's not possible.
Hey man, we catch him, I'll be happy enough.
This scene is very important because not only does it give the audience a moment to breathe, but it also perfectly shows the dynamic between Mills and Somerset. Somerset complains about apathy and how much he hates this city, and he expects Mills to go along with it, but he doesn't. Mills challenges him.
You should listen to yourself. Yeah, you say that the problem with people is that they don't care. So I don't care about people. It makes no sense. You know why?
You care.
You want to know? Damn right.
And you're gonna make a difference.
Whatever.
The perfect line is when he says,
I don't think you're quitting because you believe these things you say. I don't. I think you want to believe them because you're quitting.
Mills is a hot-headed but optimistic character, and Somerset is a more cynical character. At the start, they don't really get along, but as the movie continues, you slowly see them start to understand each other more and more, and it's very interesting to watch. The way I describe it makes it sound as if Somerset is being unreasonable. He isn't really. From what we see in this movie, the city he's lived in for so long would turn the most optimistic person at least a little bit cynical. Now I'm gonna get into spoiler territory. John Doe, played by Kevin Spacey, is a very interesting villain. What's strange is that he seems very uninteresting. There's nothing very memorable about his appearance or voice. When he comes into the police station, even though he has blood all over his shirt, he needs to yell really loudly for them to notice him.
You're looking for me.
He looks and sounds as if he would just be an extra in the background. What makes him interesting is that despite the fact that he looks normal, in his head, he's nothing like all the people around him. When Somerset is reading from his notebook, you can really see what goes on in his head.
What sick, ridiculous puppets we are, and what a gross little stage we dance on. What fun we have, dancing, fucking, not a care in the world. Not knowing that we are nothing. We are not what was intended.
This shows that he sees everybody around him as unworthy, and when combined with other pieces of information from him, it means he sees everybody as unworthy of God. He has a deep belief in God, so much so that he believes that God has given him a mission to kill sinners. There is nothing wrong with being religious, but John tries to force his beliefs onto the people around him in a particularly destructive way. The iconic ending with the box is of course very well done. It's obviously very well shot. What's interesting is that even though it's such a different location to the rest of the movie, and it has relatively warm colors, it still has a very uncomfortable atmosphere. The pylons are very imposing, and the desert is very desolate. This ending is iconic, and the location is really just as iconic. It's an interesting twist that John Doe sees himself as one of the sinners, and wants Mills to shoot him.
You tell me. You come. Wrath.
Tell me she's alright!
You made her a suspect, David.
No!
What's great about this ending is that I can watch Se7en and know what's about to happen, but still be shocked by it. Interestingly, they don't actually show what's inside the box. They say what it is, but they don't actually show anything graphic. This ending is known for being very disturbing, but it isn't even all that gory. It just implies violence, which can often be quite a bit more scary than actually showing it. I believe they originally had a prop for what's inside it, but Brad Pitt argued that it would be better to just rely on Mills's reaction.
Oh, what's in the box?
Not till you give me the
What's in
gun.
the fucking box?
Give me the gun.
He just told you. You lie! You're a fucking liar! Shut up!
I think they made the right choice. When he's freaking out, it's upsetting because we have grown to genuinely care about his character. Even though I have seen it before, I can watch that part and in my mind I just keep thinking, don't shoot him, don't shoot him. That's how I can tell I'm really invested. When I know what's going to happen, but in my head I start trying to think of ways that the characters can get out of the situation. In any other movie, it would be a satisfying moment when the killer gets shot, but in Se7en, it isn't. Mills doesn't feel any better, and John Doe wins. It's a bleak ending to a very powerful movie, and it is just perfect. Se7en, of course, gets 5 stars. What really works well is the final line from Somerset that perfectly shows his character arc.
Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." I agree with the second part.